watch at times, that one, but they got there in the end, United. Brian, job done now for this tie, do you think?
I would think so. Granada didn't really create an awful lot of chances other than the walk around set pieces was quite inventive at times, and Kennedy had a few long-range shots. But they rarely really troubled Manchester United by any great combination plays or pace. United defensively looked like they had it under control. Didn't play very well now. They weren't sparkling. There was no great rhythm to their play. None of the front four did particularly well. Rashford was the best of them. I thought Cavani did quite well when he came on, few good passes. And James, as the game went on, got a bit better running into spaces. It doesn't really matter that much how the performance was, but I'm just surprised that they didn't play a bit better. I think they've done enough to get through, unless they're outrageously bad and make terrible errors in the second game. I think 2-0 is comfortable for them.
Did Granada frustrate them a little bit at times, maybe, Keith?
They certainly did in the first half, how well they were drilled defensively, the way they sat off to a large part, but then nullified spaces between the lines, didn't allow them to get in behind. Brian just touched on Daniel James, wants to run into grass. That grass wasn't there in the first 20-30 minutes of the game, so that's where he needs to evolve his game. A lot of the players were below par, but Brian's right in terms of this stage of the season, crunch stage. It's about the result. The performance for a lot of the players needs to improve as they go through this competition and get to play against better teams. That type of performance won't be good enough. I thought defensively they were very solid. I thought Maguire and Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka as well, you could chuck into that equation, was very diligent how they all defended collectively. Stopped counter-attacks in the main, which is a big threat of Granada. So overall it's job done, but they'll know they can play better.
Yeah. Keith was saying, Brian, United, they'll have to do a lot better than that if they're to go all the way in this competition. Is it just they need more consistency, or what is it that they're lacking?
It's hard to put a finger on it tonight, but you add that to the two Milan performances and you say, well, they haven't been really very good. I mean, overall in Europe this year started off very well against PSG and Leipzig, and then blew it over the last 4 games. They lost 3 of the 4 games. Istanbul defeat in particular was a really bad defeat. And they should have really gone forward in the Champions League, having got off to a good start. So since then, you're saying this competition, lesser competition, teams not as good, it should be a lot better. OK, Real Sociedad, very good performance, away leg, 4-0. Second match was almost a dead rubber. But the 2 Milan games worried me. Milan haven't been brilliant. They're second in the league to Inter at the moment. But they just about got there. Now, tonight, I expected them with the 4 attacking players and plenty of pace. I expect a lot more for them. But there was just no great rhythm to their play. I think Pogba was probably the most disappointing, because he's the one that should be serving those front players with the right passes and the right pace on the ball. But there was no...
We'll talk about him a little bit later. But, I mean, do they need more, I suppose, what do they need going forward in this competition?
I think sometimes you get games when, in an attacking sense, those types of players, the likes of James, I touched on him about, I do think he needs to evolve his game when they're in tight areas and his build-up play and his little give and goes. I think he's brilliant as a counter-attacking player. When you look at Greenwood overall tonight, he was very much on the periphery of things. Martial always fits into that category for me. We'll have a brilliant game, and then the next game it's like, what are you getting? Cavani of a certain age. I think Rashford is definitely carrying a knock. Solskjaer said that himself, had to manage his minutes tonight. So it didn't quite click tonight for them in an attacking sense. But overall, it's job comfortably done, you would say. But having said that, you know, when you look at that...
Comfortably in the scoreline, but it did take a penalty to get that second goal. And were they lucky to get that penalty, maybe? Yes,
I would say. Look, the referee has a brilliant view of this. The angles we're getting aren't absolutely conclusive. Fellas has loads of time to pick his space, but it's Brees puts an arm out onto Bruno Fernandes, and just see him there hitting the deck. Look, Bruno Fernandes doesn't take a second invitation to go down. There's no doubt there's contact. How much, we're probably not going to ever know. and it's not the best penalty in the world.
Keeper should have had that though, should he?
I think he should have saved it, yeah. There's not enough power on it. It's not like it's gone right under his body. He gets a firm hand to it. I think he should do better.
What do you think, Brian? Should he have done better?
Yeah, I think goalkeeper should say. Well, I thought it was a soft enough penalty. I think because the contact was in the face, but it was just typical of the type of contact that often happens before a free kick or a corner comes in. In that case, the cross is coming in. I thought Fernandes went to push the player away to gain himself a little bit of ground, and Brice replied by going back at him, and he caught him on the face. Unfortunately, the referee wasn't even watching the ball. He was watching where the ball was going in, and that's the danger. He's just come on as a substitute, but it does make it, I would think, more or less done and dusted for United now, 2-0. And the positive thing from United point of view was, in those 3 games I mentioned, 2 with Milan and tonight, well, they haven't sparkled in any of them. They've only conceded 1 goal, the late goal to Simon Kerr on the corner kick, which gave Milan a real chance in the second game. But the second game, they were really solid. And the same defensively tonight. The other part of the pitch kind of looks after itself, but it wasn't great, but they did enough.
You were saying as well they were finding it hard to find their flow. So did that make for a sloppy enough game?
Yeah, well, you know, the flow comes when the midfield players are on it and there's a bit of rhythm. You see passes and sometimes the passes have been played quickly and sharp, and sometimes they're one touch. But you look at it tonight, I mean, the centre-back started to try to play it over the top because the midfield was so crowded, but then you need control in the midfield area. He just overruns the ball, Pogba here. Here's a throw-in. I mean, this is kind of well into the game. And we could have taken tons of this. But every player on the team, bar the 2 centre-backs, I'd say, maybe the right-back as well, were responsible for this sort of stuff, where it looks like he's in control. McTominay, what's he doing? What's he doing? Is that a lack of concentration, or it's just a game where you're saying, well, we're ahead, we're not going to make any stupid mistakes, play a pass, ball lost again in the middle of the pitch?
Is that tiredness? Is it they'd come back a game in that game against Brighton at the weekend? Are they just overstretched? What leads to that?
Well, look, this was the best bit of play, and he, in our opinion, he ran into an offside position. Might have just let him do it himself. I think he might have scored without making the run around him. He manager doesn't look particularly happy, but he'll absorb that result. He'll look at the performance. He'll look at the individual performance and team performance and say, well, look, I'd have settled for it before the match, but I need them to be better. On a regular basis. He knows all those front players. I mean, is that the worst game Fernandes has had watching Manchester United tonight? Probably in there with his worst games. But you know he's a great player. He's been outstanding. And Greenwood has so much potential. Rashford. But it just didn't click for them tonight.
Didn't really click for Pogba either, did it tonight?
No, and it is, or it should be, not is, it should be his best position in my opinion, alongside someone like McTominay, in a deeper position where he can show his array of passing. I mentioned at half-time that he was taking too many touches. In the defensive two-thirds of the pitch, you have to be secure in possession, and that's what worries me about him. Once he gets into advanced positions in the main, when he's playing freely and with confidence, he produces really good passes, and there's no doubt his talent and his ability. The complement of McTominay beside him tonight was all about the back 5 in terms of the back 4 and McTominay being secure. Pogba, for me, comes into the front 5, and they didn't really click tonight. I think that was why he made the change in terms of bringing him off. This sums him up. Initially, very good. Little give and go, brilliant. Can dictate the tempo. Again, 72 minutes, taking too many touches. And there you see it, 73 and a half minutes, he's off. So, underwhelming again.
You say he's complimented by McTominay. They're not going to have McTominay. They're not going to have Shaw. They're not going to have Harry Maguire in the next game. Does that really matter? Is this tie kind of done now?
Well, they got the first goal in the second match, will give them great encouragement, but they didn't look a very threatening team tonight, I have to say. I think Manchester United will have enough, even without Shaw. You know, Telles goes back and plays left back, centre-half position. I'm not sure who's fit at the moment to come in there, but they've had plenty of centre-halves who, when you look at Soldado, not a huge threat running in behind, even though Jerry said in commentary still has a bit of pace. There wasn't many balls going in that he could have got onto. I think they've enough of a squad to handle missing those 3 players.
Keith, do you think there'll be a fear running through the minds of Manchester United fans of, oh no, could we fall at another semi-final stage?
Yeah, I think there is. I think getting there will be okay. It'll be fine. Now, the luxury they have, because of where they are in the Premier League and the luxury for there in second to fifth with Chelsea, that little buffer, they will be able to rotate. Because let's not forget, the players have come off, not just Saturday's game, but a lot of them have been away on international duty, some playing 3 games, McTominay being a prime example. And it's in those attacking areas, that's where you need to be razor sharp to really undo the opposition. And that was lacking tonight, but they still got the job done. He'll refresh it, I think, at the right stage to make sure when they do bounce into the semi-finals, they're very, very fresh.
OK, but we go again next week.